Welcome to our all-new series, The Carnivore Kitchen, where we will indulge you in amazing meals and delicacies that are none other than carnivore. Where our presenter is none other than Shannon Richardson, owner and operator of the Lion's Share Meal Prep and Catering Company. I'm your host, Dr. Victoria Munoz. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Stay tuned. So welcome to the Carnivore Kitchen. I'm here with Shannon today, and she is the owner of the Lion's Share Meal Prep and, well, you can say it better than I can, Meal Prep and
Catering. So it's Lion's Share Meal Prep and Catering Company. Yeah.
And so today we're going to prepare a carnivore meal. Well, actually Shannon is, and I'm going to hang out and enjoy watching the preparation process. But go ahead, Shannon, and tell us exactly what you're going to be preparing today and a little bit more about your prep business.
Okay, so I'm going to be preparing today just a real simple meatball, carnivore meatball with absolutely no breading, no nothing, low carb, if no carb, with a little bit of a kind of like a cheese sauce or a bechamel with absolutely no flour in it at all, either, or carbs, very minimal. So, and then my prep company is essentially right now, the way I'm working is that I am doing personal chef services. So I'm going within people's homes and I am preparing these meals according to their specifications on a weekly basis. So essentially going to people's homes to prep the meals for the week, whether it's for a family or for a single individual.
Yes, and she's a good cook, so you definitely want to pay attention.
I'm all right. I'm okay. So. Presently right now, what I've already got prepared here is a little bit less than half a pound. I want to say about 3/4 of a pound of a mixture of 80-20 ground beef and some pork that's mixed together, and about a tablespoon worth of Parmesan that is like just general Parmesan cheese with absolutely no carbs in it. It's just Parmesan, no fillers. And then right here, I have approximately a cup and a half worth of pork rinds that I have crushed up to make kind of like a meal. And then I've also like a quote unquote a pork rind meal, and then I've added about a quarter of a cup to a half a cup of beef broth. It's just depends on whatever, however soaks through to the pork rinds so that it can be wet. It's what creates our binder, helps create our binder, and then we will be adding an egg, some salt and pepper if desired, and then I have some garlic and some onion granulated as well that we will add to that.
How long does that have to sit for?
It depends. This is what's called blooming, and so essentially it'll be dry, and then you just add to it until it looks like this, kind of like a slurry. Kind of, I know it kind of sounds and looks a little gross, but as long as it's saturated, the pork rinds are fully saturated. You can also substitute in, if your stomach can tolerate it, you can add whole milk or even a
heavy cream.
That's it. Yes. My brain today, let me tell you, brain is not braining. So we'll go ahead and we'll add that now. And
2 brains are better than 1.
Yes, always. Always. I always say, I can learn anything from anybody. So let me go ahead and I'll just go ahead and crack the egg on in. So, and honestly, everything could be considered a binder, but everything is there to actually add moisture to the product. Because we all know that, if depending on the leanness of the meat, it can actually cause it to be kind of tough and dry once you fry it up or once you cook it. So I'm going to start with just about half of this mixture here, and I've added the egg already.
Do you just add 1 egg?
Just 1 egg. I would say for about every pound or so, about 1 egg. It helps to create a good binder and good moisture. It's a good proportion. Let me add, I'll go ahead and I'll add in a little bit of garlic. It's like measure with your heart. I always do little. You can always add, but you can never take out.
And again, guys, if you want spices, they are to your preference.
Yep.
If you don't want spices at all, if you're so strict with your carnivore diet that you don't do any kind of spices, then that's something that you can also preference with Shannon.
That is true. Although, never skimp on the salt.
No. Always needs salt. Everybody needs salt.
And it's funny, no matter how many times I cook a meal, it doesn't matter who I cook a meal with, they're always like, where's the salt? Back in the culinary days, people had, I ended up ruining a couple. Oh, do you like pepper?
That's fine.
Okay. I don't prefer it, but it doesn't matter to me.
I don't have any problem with spices. I don't typically add them on my own, but
something better.
I tolerate them fine, yeah.
So, but yeah, in culinary school, I ended up messing up an entire tray of food. Actually, my instructor messed up the entire tray of food. Oh, and then you'll go ahead and you'll mix it lightly and gentle, just because as I'm getting it everywhere. You don't want to over mix it too much, but you definitely want to mix it until well combined, just because you don't. If you overwork the meat, even though you have moisture in it, it can still be tough. So anyway, back to what I was saying with salt. I ruined an entire tray, or well, rather my instructor ruined an entire tray trying to teach me about salt, getting me to understand what industry standards were, because I just never could understand the whole reason behind why salt was a thing. I have a hyper palate, so salt to me can be a little bitter. So when I explained that to my instructor, he took a whole handful of salt and put it into the sauce. It was beautiful tomato sauce I had made, and it was fresh and beautiful. That's back in the day before I started eating this way. And he threw the whole handful in there, and he's like, "This is what people want: salt, salt and fat, salt and fat." And so, needless to say, I've always been a little bit sheepish about salt, but I mean, nowadays, not so much. Nowadays it's like, yeah, let's add the butter onto the ribeye, and let's add as much salt as we possibly can. But I guess my kids are still like, hey, okay. So then you want to get it about this consistency, about this. This might be a little bit too much, but you can feel it. There's a little bit of a velvety texture to the meat. You still can see that there are some larger granules of the pork rind mixture in here, and that's perfectly okay too. It'll saute up nice, and it'll either add a little bit of an extra crispy bite or a little extra moisture to the meatball. So now we're going to go ahead and take our mixture. We're going to take it over here to the stove. And I'm going to portion these out and do them by hand as quickly as I can. Turn on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and let the unit heat up, and I'm also going to let my pan heat up. I want it to start heating up before I add in my quote unquote, it's not really oil. I want to add in my Wagyu, my tallow. I like this stuff. The South Chicago Packing Company has never done me wrong. I know you can get it on Amazon. You can get it rather quickly, within 2 days. I just prefer the spray. It's a lot faster for me, unless I'm deep frying something. So in this case, I'm not shallow frying. I'm only sauteing. So I just need a little tiny bit to the pan. Do I really need it? No, I like the flavor, but because my pan is actually enamel coated, so we should be okay. It's a nonstick surface, safe. But I'm still moving on the transition to either stainless steel or full on cast iron. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure the pan is nice and hot. So I've gone ahead and I've turned it on high. I am going to turn it down just a little bit because it is a smaller pan. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm adding my tallow to a hot pan. Best way to do that, you just kind of, just a little bit. You can either add a little bit or a lot. I mean, it's tallow, it's not oil, so it's not going to harm you. And then I'm going to go ahead and take our seasoned meat mixture here. And I'm going to use our little scoop, which is approximately about a tablespoon or two in size. And then I'm going to ever so gently make it into a meatball. You don't want to do too much to it. Now at this point, you can either choose to keep them like this, or you can add a little piece of mozzarella inside there. You can poke a little hole, put mozzarella in, and have a little treat inside there as well, or not.
Do you ever wrap them in bacon?
You can wrap them in bacon. I sometimes even add bacon to the meat mixture. But unfortunately today I just have these ingredients available to me. And then hopefully if it's ready, that's a little bit too quiet of a sear. But what we'll want to do is we'll want to sear our meatballs, kind of cook the outside to make it all with I guess it's a Maillard reaction. So essentially it's making it all nice and brown and crispy, but it's not quite hot yet, which is okay. That happens. So we'll just let it sit in the pan and get hot. And then after that, we'll go ahead and we'll add some chicken broth to our little sauce pot over here. And we will take the meatballs after they've been sitting for about 5 minutes in the pan and they're all brown around all the edges. Then we go ahead and we add to the beef stock and we let it cook for approximately 3 to 4 minutes, depending on doneness. You can also do it the other way around, which is like a reverse sear. So if you put something in the oven, you can do the same thing here where you're putting it in this soup to kind of steep and steam through with the meat, which creates a good seal for moisture. And then you can go ahead and add the sear. I just prefer to do it this way. So I'm just going to add a little bit more in here too, because I mean, and the good thing. guys. We'll just let that all fry up. Okay, so I'm right here. This is just a simple beef stock. Doesn't really matter what kind it is. Most people prefer organic, pasture raised. Honestly, in the beginning, it doesn't really matter. You just get what you can afford or what you're comfortable with. And so I add just a little bit of beef broth to this mix. So I know it sounds like a little bit, but maybe a cup. Since we're only doing 4 right now in the pan, I'm only going to do a little bit. Normally I would fill it up and I would just kind of like not boil, but simmer to allow the broth to steam through. So, and then we'll just go ahead and start checking these guys. They sound nice. You'll see there's a little bit of a crisp on there, not a whole lot. So I'm going to turn it back around and just let it sit a little bit longer. Patience is key. You really do want that good, as I call it, golden brown and delicious. That crunchy, that's a texture thing, and especially if you're on the carnivore diet, texture is a thing. I like to have crunchy things, and so when I'm craving that, sometimes I'll even overcook my meat just a hair or over sear it just to make sure that I get a really good crisp, so you can have that crunchiness without going to like a chip or a carb, which.
And how well done do you like them? Because, like with steak, for example, many carnivores will keep it pretty rare on the inside. But how about with hamburger or ground beef?
With hamburger, I probably wouldn't go any more less cooked than I want to say medium heat, medium to medium well. Honestly, it's kind of I think it's a texture thing. Hamburger can be kind of weird. My mom used to, as a kid, I used to watch her mix the hamburger with like meatloaf and stuff, and she'd just eat it raw, which always amazed me. And then she'd like slap my hand away because I'd want to try it, and she'd be like, "You're gonna get worms." I'm like, I think it's just her. She enjoys that. But like I said, I would probably not go. I wouldn't go any more than medium. I wouldn't go any less than about a medium. I mean, you could try medium rare. It could be up to your preference. But I think that it might actually fall apart in the broth in a little while. See, that's good. That's a good.
What do you mean if it's not done enough?
If it's not done enough, it's still going to be relatively soft, and then it could fall apart when you toss it in. But then also you don't have to do the broth either. Like I said, that's just a thing to help keep the moisture within the meatball. So if you feel like an underdoneness meatball would be better for you, for your moisture content and your texture, your mouthfeel, then that's fine too. You could certainly do that. It's your cooking. Like, I'm a big fan of Julia Child. Just fix it. Who's to see? You're just cooking, and the whole point is just to really enjoy the meal you're cooking. And so your doneness is your doneness. So keep working on that here. Yeah, this one wants to fall apart a little bit, so it's still not really ready. Look at this guy. I really like the color on that one, though. See if I can't get him to stand up. Turn that one up so we can get it simmer. Okay, while that's in there, I'll warm up and then we'll go. And then right now we're going to go ahead and the pan of broth has started to simmer a little bit. Not boiling, but a simmer, which I probably should turn it down a bit. And then we're going to add the meatballs. They're almost cooked. And there is a little bit of gray on there still, but not a ton. And that's okay. You can have some gray, and that's actually starting to boil. You don't really want it to do that, but that's okay.
Just a simmer, is that what we want?
Just a simmer, because you don't want everything to kind of get foamy. You want it to just gently cook in its own beef broth and its own fat that it's there. So I also have a tendency to do.
Oh yeah,
that just to add the fat.
The more fat, the better.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're doing now is I'm going to go ahead and prepare our bechamel sauce. And as we do that, I'm going to go ahead and just turn this off of a simmer and just allow the meatballs to sit there in the sauce. And then I'm also going to put off the heat because it will cause even though the burner is off, the burner is still hot, and so is the fluid and the liquid inside there, and the meatballs themselves. And they do something called carryover cooking. So even if we pull it off, it'll still carry over cook, but it'll still start to cool down. So while it might steep and steam the rest of the meat through and make it all the way through, either to a medium or a medium well, it's not going to burn. It's not going to burn. So, and then we're going to come over and make the sauce. So you can, once again, you can have as many seasonings as you'd like, whatever you feel is going to be best for your digestion, where you're at in your process. Let me move this. And then this is a simple cheese sauce. It's kind of a copy, but normally people add a lot of butter to it. Every recipe that I've used so far with the butter in it, it always seems to truly overpower, even to the extent where some people are like brown butter, and then you add the cheese and then you add the stock. It's just the butter overpowers, and there's really no way to get around that. If that's what you're looking for, absolutely, by go for it. But in our household, we tend to really like a lot of different flavors and some complexity levels, and we don't like it to overpower. So in this recipe, I will not be using the butter this time through until I can feel comfortable with those ratios, and don't feel comfortable with that recipe as of yet. However, with this recipe, it's going to be 8 ounces of cream cheese. So we're going to take this whole 8 ounces of cream cheese, and we're going to throw it right into the blender, just right in. And then I'm going to add a little bit of, that's okay, take a little bit of the Parmesan cheese that we used in the meatballs. And I'm not using an accurate measuring spoon, so this is maybe a teaspoon and a half. So I'll do 2 to make it like an official tablespoon. Let's go ahead and add that. And then you can add spices if you'd like. I think I'm just going to add salt and pepper this time. I'm going to add a very generous amount of salt. I happen to like that. And add just a little bit of pepper. Okay. And then you're going to add about a cup. I start with a half, and then I go from there. Little goes a long way sometimes. Also with the salt content, we also don't want to truly overpower.
Is that so you make it the right consistency? So you just start with a half and then kind of add as you go?
Yeah. And you know, measure with your heart. You know, if you feel like you want a sauce. Now, we are going to warm the sauce through, which will actually create a tightening anyway, and create a nappe, which is where a nappe is where when you're stirring the soup and then you pull the spoon out and you can drag your finger across the spoon, there's a big line where you drag your finger and the sauce just kind of sticks. That's called a nappe. And so we would want that kind of consistency in our home. That's what we like. Some people like a runnier sauce. Some people like a thicker sauce. Some people will warm it through, then put it in the fridge, and then use it later, kind of just scoop it like a cheese. And it's divine either way. And it still melts out really good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start this, and I'm going to turn this sucker on, and we're going to just blend it up real nice. Okay. So then at this point, we're kind of looking at it. We'll go ahead and stick a spoon in there. And see how it's still like really cheesy and thick? There's still some lumps in there. That means that there isn't enough yet. There isn't enough liquid in there yet. So we're going to go ahead and add some more beef stock. Now you can add this beef stock, or you can go ahead and take that beef stock that you cooked your meatballs in and throw it in there. Chef's kiss. That's really good. We just didn't do that here today. Okay, I'm going to do this one more try and see. Okay. All right, so then we're going to look at it again. And this can take a little bit of time. So, you know, to learn how to get it right. So this is about a good consistency. So that's not bad. And it coats the spoon really good. There's still some lumps in it, but I don't particularly mind with regards to that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick it into our pan. We have a secondary pan here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Now with this, you want to be really careful. This can go very quickly and boil over very fast. I turn it on to low, medium, low, medium at most for temperature. And we're just going to add it to the pan because all we really want to do is heat it through. and make it a nice warm sauce so that it goes nicely on top of those meatballs. Okay. Get the heck out. And then what we're going to want to do is I usually take a whisk, and I don't really walk away from this. I kind of just, since the burner's a little bit bigger, I think I'm going to go a little higher. I don't really walk away from it because, like I said, it can boil over really, really fast. And you have the opportunity to just pull it off the heat and let it. So when you think it's coming and it's boiling over, usually people are like, oh no, what do I do? Just pull, pull it away. Something that I've had to teach a couple of times through, and a lot of opportunities for growth and improvement in certain circles that I've been a part of where it'll start to boil over. And so we've had to clean up messes. So I also love to teach kids how to cook. And so children, I like to teach them how not to get scared in the kitchen, how not to be afraid of the grease, how not to be afraid of the fire. And I will teach a recipe over and over and over again, as many times as it takes for a kid to learn. I want kids to be self-sufficient. Nowadays, kids aren't as self-sufficient on the cooking level. Not everybody, but a lot. Where one of my children went to college, they had a kitchen, but nobody ever used it. And I started a cooking class, and now everybody uses it.
You could just be like me and hire Shannon.
I mean, you could. I really tried, but they're all broke college students. They're children. They're both college students, and not everybody. And even though it was a private college, not everybody could really afford a private chef. And so, I instilled the cooking classes and the cooking club, and then that way they could learn for themselves how to do it and be self-sufficient. And then that way, hey, one day you're gonna want to talk to a girl, want to talk to a guy, you want to invite them over, have a dinner, meatballs, chicken, something good. So, and something that's healthy for them too, protein. It's good for your brain. It's gonna help you think and stay up late for classes and homework and study sessions. So, as well as all the other wonderful things about being a college student. So we're slowly getting there. I am going to turn it up a little bit just because the burner is a little bit, it's larger, but it doesn't want to, it says to the, because it's so large, it keeps turning off because it's a smaller pan. So I'll just keep moving it around. And it'll be a while. It'll be a minute, maybe 10, 15 minutes worth of whisking. And you do want to keep it whisking. If you stop, you can kind of check it and see where it might be. But you'll actually feel it tighten. If you're whisking it, it'll be like stirring water, stirring water, stirring water. And then all of a sudden it's like being in the swamps of the sadness, from Never Ending Story. You're like, okay, stir, stir, stir. So okay, so we've been cooking for a few minutes now, and we've been stirring. We've been constantly stirring. I moved from a whisk to a flat spatula, and I'm just kind of making sure that the entire bottom of the pan gets touched and gets scooped and swirled and moved around so that we don't have any browning on the bottom. It is a white sauce, and if you start to brown it, it'll start to get gross and have little brown pieces in it. This is the one occasion where we definitely don't want the brown pieces in it. And so we're going to test our sauce. So we pull it. So we essentially pull up our item, our stir, and then our spatula, and then we do that. Now that's not a bad sauce. That actually is tightened up pretty well. Let's try that one more time. I want to make sure it's like throwing spaghetti on a wall. That's actually kind of nice. Okay, then we're going to try it again. And we just drag it across. See how it doesn't, never the twain shall meet, the road doesn't, no one comes across the road. This is nappe. So that's perfect. So we're going to go ahead and take it off. Still going to carry over cook. Make sure to turn off your stove and your oven so that way you don't burn down your home. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll plate. So we're going to take these guys. Take our plate, our lovely, lovely plate. And we're going to go ahead and place our meatballs. You can do them any configuration, no configuration, spill it on the plate, who cares? As long as it looks good to you. For sake of right now, we're just gonna do it like that. And then we're gonna spoon over our sauce, which is at our beautiful nappe. We're going to take our spoon. Now, normally people like put, some individuals in the restaurant business, they actually just put the sauce down first and then the meatballs. I don't care. Doesn't matter. It all goes to the same place. We just kind of ladle it over. And it's to your heart's content, however much or however little you want. But for the sake of right now, I like sauce. Douse it in this sauce. And then we're going to give it a try. And also, there is something that I happen to not do throughout this process, but it's to taste as you go. Continue to put your hands in your food and taste your sauce. Always taste things and taste as you go. Something may need more sauce. Something may need more pepper or salt. And I think that's going to be enough. I think we've had enough there. And then put that there. All right. And then now we're ready to try.
All right, we're ready to try the gourmet meal here. I'm so excited. I'm hungry. All right.
All right. So just go ahead, grab, dig in, and let me know what you think. Oh, they're actually kind of soft. I like that.
All right.
So that initial cut was nice.
Bon appetit.
Yeah, that cut was nice. Give it a shot.
Drum roll. I know it's going to be good. Oh.
Not bad.
That is delicious.
That's even nice.
I need a dozen more.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I know he's seasoned with pepper, but I can't even taste them. This is good.
Yeah.
The salt though comes through real nice. The pork rinds even come really good.
Everything's perfect. It's the right savory. It's the right texture. It's creamy. The meatballs are the right consistency.
Yeah, those
Beautiful.
came out real nice and moist. I know for the people who don't like the M word, wet. They come out really good.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised.
Yeah, you should be here.
It's not too bad. And it smells good too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good.
So all you out there that think carnivore is restrictive, limiting, flavorless, this is proof it's not.
Yeah, not true. Not true. Not true at all. And, you know, take some time to perfect your technique. I mean,
just hire Shannon.
Yep. Hire me. I will come into your home. I will prep for you. And then you'll be so grateful and glad. You'll either continue to use my services or you'll ask me to teach you how. And I will.
Oh. That is the best meal I've had in a very long time.
Like I'm amazing myself right now because, of course, why shouldn't it be good?
Yeah. Everyone want to give a spoon and just eat the sauce.
Yeah. And there's extra where that came from. And so then you can add butter to that as well for some extra flavor, a little bit of depth. So it'll add that umami flavor. You can also add, you can also add, if you wanted to, you could take this and put it over fish or like kind of like a heavier fish, like a salmon or something like that. And you could also add fish sauce to the actual item. It's just anchovies, salt, and water, which is sold at most local groceries nowadays, but you can also get them at Asian markets as well, which, you know, it's very inexpensive and it's a good way. And it's also carnivore. So it's a good addition to that too. It's a good base sauce.
Yeah.
Good base sauce. You can add anything to it. So
yeah, it really is versatile.
Yes. And next time we'll probably do something like with the hollandaise or something. So we'll show you about the egg yolks, the butter, and how that all comes together and the acid. And it'll be great.
Beautiful.
So,
well, we're going to be doing this weekly, so don't forget to tune in. I am Dr. Victoria Munoz. This is the Carnivore Kitchen. This is Shannon, and she is owner of the Lion's Share
Meal Prep and Catering Company.
There you go.
Meal Prep and Catering Company.
She has to say that part.
That's okay. That's okay. It'll start rolling off her tongue sooner or later.
So if your mouths aren't watering yet, continue to watch because they will be. And we'll see you next time.